Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. While everyday Michiganders are struggling with rising grocery prices, a shortage of affordable housing, and soaring healthcare costs, Michigan House Republicans are instead focused on trying to overturn marriage equality, an attack on freedoms and rights of countless families across our state. At a time when we should be working together to ease the burdens residents face, Republicans are more concerned with taking away hard-earned freedoms and finding real solutions. Let me be clear. When will Republicans shift their attention from divisive cultural battles to real issues at hand? When will they prioritize policies that ensure every Michigander has access to affordable food, a safe place to live, and quality health care? Instead, we see an attempt to undermine the rights of those who simply wish to love who they choose. The Democratic Party is the party of personal freedoms and protecting families. Our focus is and always will be on building a Michigan where every family has the opportunity to thrive, not on stripping away hard-fought rights. It's time for Republicans to stop the divisive political games and start addressing the real issues that matter to Michiganders. Our communities deserve leadership that fights for their freedoms, supports working families, and delivers real results. Thank you. I'd now like to hand it over to Rep. Jason Morgan.
Thank you, Representative McFall. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. First, I just want to say, similar to the lines of my colleague, that we should not be having this conversation right now. Rep. Shriver's attack on marriage equality is a ridiculous distraction that does not help a single Michigan family. This homophobic attack does not help Michigan families put food on the table or afford the high cost of housing or childcare. It does not fix our roads or improve our schools. Frankly, this is crap. But here we are. Why? Because with Donald Trump leading the Republican Party, the threats to our fundamental rights are more real than they have ever been. And I don't want anyone giving me some crap about how this is not meaning anything or this isn't going to pass or we don't have to worry about this issue because the reality is that we do. Nearly a quarter of the House Republican caucus signed on to this homophobic resolution. We've seen these right-wing zealots succeed in taking this country back 50 years once. We will not let it happen again. I will not back down, and I know we will all not back down in the face of anyone trying to take away our fundamental rights and freedoms. Listen, this is hard to understand for some people, but when you grow up as a gay kid, it hits different. When you grow up having to hide who you are because you don't know if your family will still love you, it hits different. When you grow up believing that you will never be able to love someone because it's not normal, it hits different. When you grow up worrying that if someone finds out your secret, that you'll be bullied or lose all your friends or have to change schools, I promise you it feels different. To grow up absolutely knowing that even if you do find love, you may always live in fear that some right-wing nut will decide that you don't deserve the right to live because of who you are. And even if you make it through all of that, to know that even if you do everything right, you find love, you work really hard to get a good job, and to build a good life with the person of your dreams, that you will still never be equal under the eyes of the law. I promise you, it hits different. It is different. And I will not rest until we make sure that no kid ever has to experience that experience ever again. I stand here today with colleagues from across Michigan, many of whom are not LGBTQ or in same-sex marriages themselves, yet they are standing in solidarity because this fight is about more than just the LGBTQ community. It's about all of us. Attacks on marriage equality don't just harm same-sex couples, they impact the families, friends, and those who love us. They're an open attack on fundamental freedoms, on individual rights, and on the basic American principle that all men and all people are created equal and endowed with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The fight for equal rights is not over, and it appears that it will not be over for quite some time. This is about real people, real families, and real lives. This is not some abstract political debate. This is about love, dignity, and the freedom to marry the person that you choose. While Obergefell v. Hodges made marriage equality the law of the land, our state constitution still contains language that bans same-sex marriage. And that language, while it no longer reflects the values of our state today, it is still in our state constitution. And it's long past time to remove it, not go the other direction. We all saw what happened when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Rights that we thought were settled were stripped away in an instant, leaving devastation in the wake that we're still dealing with today. We cannot afford to be complacent. Justice Clarence Thomas has already called for reconsidering marriage equality. We know the threat is real, and we must act to protect the rights of Michiganders. This is personal for me, and I know many of my colleagues. This is personal for so many people across our state. The people of Michigan overwhelmingly support marriage equality at this point. And our laws should reflect that reality. No politician should have the power to intrude on the most personal of commitments of another person. Love is not partisan. Commitment is not partisan. Marriage equality should not be partisan. We must stand together to protect the fundamental rights of all of our citizens. And to the people of our great state, I ask that you make your voices heard, that you contact your representatives, tell them that Michigan will not go backward. We will not stand by while extremists try to strip away our rights. We will not allow hate and discrimination to dictate the future of our state. We are here today to make one thing abundantly clear. Love is something worth fighting for, and we'll never stop fighting for what is right. Thank you.
A solution would be to launch a ballot drive and repeal the marriage amendment. Is that on your itinerary?
So that would be a conversation that happens a little bit outside the legislature. I know those conversations are happening. Where those will go at this point is not, I don't know, but I know that those conversations will certainly continue happening until we hit a point where we do have protection for marriage equality in Michigan's Constitution.
Do you personally think it would be worthwhile? Obviously, there's a risk-benefit that would come with that kind of decision.
So that's something that the activists in the community and the folks who can really run a ballot initiative would have to consider. I will say I am certainly very committed to us continuing to push to repeal the ban on gay marriage and to give that question back to the voters here in the Michigan legislature. And to do that, frankly, we need a 2/3 majority in the House and the Senate. And so I hope that we will eventually get there with Democratic legislators, but or at least those who would support such a resolution. But until that point, we're going to keep pushing on every front that we can.
So just to be clear, you would like to see it one way or another?
I would very much like to see the homophobic ban on same-sex marriage removed from the state constitution. Absolutely.
Representative, we just heard word this morning that House Speaker McFall has scheduled a press conference for the exact same time as Josh Schreiber's press conference right after session. Wanted to see how that hit you.
I'm not sure what his press conference is regarding, but
It's open-ended. There's nothing on the agenda.
but I would
Being available at the exact same time as Josh Schreiber.
I would hope that we would all strongly repudiate this homophobic attack on marriage equality by Rep. Schreiber. I don't know if my colleagues have any other thoughts.
The intended or unintended. Or the majority of Americans on attacking our LGBT neighbors. We have passed that point where our friends and family and neighbors are not trying to stand in the way of love. Literally the last thing it makes sense to fight against is our ability to care for and love each other. So this is just disgusting, and it's an attention-seeking act, which doesn't mean we won't take it seriously, and we won't won't be doing everything we can to protect what rights we have. And as Representative Morgan said, remove what hateful language we have within our Michigan Constitution that unfortunately speaks to values that, frankly, most of us don't have anymore, thankfully.
There are 12 co-sponsors allegedly on this resolution. That means about 1 out of every 5 House Republicans does support this in some capacity. What kind of supporting this resolution?
So it would be very interesting to know who they are. With all the work on transparency, it's interesting that nobody seems to know who these people are. And I would question, what their constituents think about this, once their names are released, that they're not actually focusing on helping the people of Michigan. They're more focused on hurting people in Michigan.
I think that this is it's a really interesting point, and I think the point about Speaker Hall is interesting too, because I think that despite being in the majority, I think Michigan House Republicans are in a really tough spot right now because they have to distract and deflect from the fact that the President of the United States, at whose pleasure they all serve, is right now focused on implementing bankrupting tariffs that are going to skyrocket costs for Michiganders and that are going to incinerate our pocketbooks, is really right now focusing on selling out our national security by siding with North Korea, Russia, and Iran against Ukraine and our European allies, and is focused right now on gutting healthcare for low-income Michiganders and letting Republicans in Congress do that, all so that he can pay for tax cuts, permanent tax cuts for billionaires. So I understand why Michigan House Republicans right now are interested in whipping up hate and division to deflect and distract from the fact that they have no plan and no agenda to make Michigan a freer, fairer, and more prosperous state.
Other questions?
I just have one more. I just wanted, I noticed that there's a lot of House Democrats here. Could somebody just kind of talk about this as a unifying issue for Democrats in general? It seems like there's a lot of you here.
Well, I would say this isn't just a unifying issue for Democrats. People need to mind their damn business when it comes to us making sure that we can support our families. That is what this is all about, is our ability to support our families, and Representative Shriver's attempts are to attack and come for our families when we're trying to provide for our children, when we're trying to protect and support our LGBT children as they grow. We are surrounded by allies. We're surrounded by parents. We're not just colleagues to each other. We are average Americans that know and care about LGBT people.
I'd like to add too, while this is unifying for us because, we're the party of the people, and this is protecting people. This is protecting rights. This is protecting families. This should be a unifying topic for all Americans that believe in actual freedom. Thank you.
Sorry, you guys kind of touched on this a little while ago. This would be a the resolution wouldn't actually have any legal bearing, in terms of working to overturn the case. But just kind of culturally and socially, just kind of what you guys might have to say to Michiganders who, see this and are worried that their rights are, might be under attack.
I think that's why we're all here right now. Rep. Diebendorf and a lot of people touched on this. I think that there's kind of a push and pull between rewarding attention-seeking behavior and also making a very clear point with our constituents and everyone all across the state that we don't support this. And I think that that's part of why we're here. And, whether this resolution goes anywhere, whether, it has the effect that the representative is hoping it does, that's frankly beside the point. It's a hateful thing that he chose to do at a moment where people are already concerned about their rights and their individual freedoms. And we're here to stand against that, not validate attention-seeking, grabby behavior from him.
And I'll just add that I hear from a lot of folks throughout Michigan who are legitimately concerned about their rights. And so what we want to make sure that we're doing is telling them that we will stand up for them. We are standing up for them, and we will always stand up for them. And the trouble is, hate plays the long game. So we have to as well. This may be a resolution today, but it's a long-term effort to try and overturn our rights. So whether those rights are overturned today or tomorrow, we are not going to stop fighting to protect these rights and to protect the people behind them. So we're going to make sure that people are protected as much as we possibly can, but we have to strongly repudiate these efforts so that we can make sure that we're not rolling back rights in the same way that things happened with Roe v. Wade. So for me, I think making sure folks know that your rights are currently protected today, but they're not permanently protected from these attacks. So we're going to fight back against them every chance we have to.
You know, I think it's kind of creepy that he's worried about what's going on in Representative Morgan's bedroom or Representative McFall's bedroom. You know, they're my friends, but my interest stops at the backyard barbecue or in the living room. What goes on in their bedroom is their damn business, and I think it's creepy and weird that Shriver is so damn worried about this that he's putting this resolution out. I mean, come on. What is he, you know, what's really behind this? What's really behind this, Mr. Shriver?
Someone just got quote of the day.